Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. India reiterates its policies on energy sourcing are guided by consumer interests, stresses the need for broad basing and diversifying sourcing to keep prices down and secure supplies. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India's role in UN peacekeeping operations reflects its belief in global commitments at the UN Troop Contributing Countries' Chiefs Conclave in Delhi. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates a conference on extradition of fugitives in Delhi, says India has adopted a ruthless approach to bring absconders to justice. War of words between the US and China intensifies over Beijing's rare earths export restrictions. US Treasury Secretary trashes the move, saying it's China versus the world. And Donald Trump rules out the use of US military to disarm the Hamas. Israel threatens to resume fighting in Gaza if the Hamas doesn't return the remains of all hostages, as US advisors say that it intends to honor the deal. First up, India has categorically made it clear that its policies on energy sourcing are guided by consumer interests. In response to comments on India's energy sourcing, official spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal in a statement said that India is a significant importer of oil and gas, and it has been our consistent priority to safeguard the interests of the Indian consumer in a volatile energy scenario. Our import policies are guided entirely by this objective. The statement further says that ensuring stable energy prices and secured supplies have been the twin goals of India's energy policy. This includes broad basing energy sourcing and diversifying as appropriate to meet market conditions. It was further said that where the US is concerned, we have for many years sought to expand our energy procurement. This has steadily progressed in the last decade. The current administration has shown interest in deepening energy cooperation with India. Discussions are ongoing. And Russia responded on Thursday to Donald Trump's recent claim that India would no longer buy Russian oil, asserting that Russian oil is beneficial to the Indian economy, but the Indian government is acting according to its national interests. Russian ambassador said that Moscow won't interfere between the US and India.
This is the question to the Indian government. So, Indian government is, as I said, is acting having in mind the interests, the national interests of this country in the first place, and our cooperation in energy is very much in tune of those interests.
Let's get you more on this with DD India's Jessica Taneja joining us from Delhi. Jessica, now what more can you tell us about this clear dissonance in what India has put on record to what Donald Trump believes on energy supplies?
Well, for India's part, it has clarified that it will continue to engage in energy trade with many other countries, including OPEC and outside OPEC as well, based on its own needs. And, the fact that how the Indian economy has to be, engineered with that energy inflow consistently is also where India stresses on this point, that it will continue to diversify in a sense that will not sort of make the economy sort of tumble or get affected in a sense that we've seen in the recent past. Now, if you look at the trade deal that is being discussed between the United States and India, in that indications have been made that energy imports from the United States could see an uptick. Remember, in the last 7 to 8 years, it was around $25 billion, and it was reduced to $11 to $12 billion. And that is where India has also indicated it is willing to step up energy imports from the United States. But without getting into the specifics of the conversation between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi, the Ministry of External Affairs has clarified that India will continue to import energy from many countries and multiple sources, given the demand at home and the kind of volatility that we're witnessing right now in the global markets. India wants to make sure that its consumers are not affected by either trade wars, that potentially would harm the interest of the consumers, or any kind of conflicts. So with that, the Indian stand remains firm, as it has been in the past as well, that it will continue to operate based on its own needs and demands back home.
All right, Jessica Taneja, thank you so much for joining us with that input. Now, India's participation in United Nations peace operations is a profound expression of its responsibility as a member state and of its belief in global commitments. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted this during his address at the UN Troop Contributing Countries' Chiefs Conclave held in New Delhi on Thursday. The minister emphasized that India's approach to peacekeeping is deeply rooted in its civilizational ethos.
India approaches peacekeeping from its civilizational ethos. We see the world as one family, a vision enshrined in the timeless phrase of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is not just cultural wisdom, but an outlook that anchors our worldview. It is why India has consistently advocated for justice, dignity, opportunity, and prosperity for all societies and peoples.
Dr. Jaishankar also spoke about the increasing demands on peacekeeping due to evolving nature of conflicts and changing geopolitical dynamics. He underlined India's commitment to working collectively, constructively, and by consensus to shape a renewed vision for global peacekeeping.
The global challenges we face, from pandemics to terrorism and economic instability to climate change, these challenges are interconnected and they transcend national borders. Our responses, therefore, must be more cooperation, transcending the competitive aspects of international politics. The natural starting point for such collaboration is the United Nations.
Now, as part of the UN Troop Contributing Countries' Chiefs Conclave, the chiefs and heads of delegations planted saplings of ashok at the Peacekeepers' Grove in New Delhi. The initiative, inspired by the noble thought Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, or a tree in the name of the mother, symbolizes gratitude, care, and the nurturing bond that connects humanity and nature. Each sapling has been geotagged to ensure its long-term monitoring and growth. This collective act stands as a living tribute to the ideals of peace, sustainability, and global cooperation, reflecting the shared commitment of troop contributing nations to safeguard both the planet and the principles of peacekeeping. India has reaffirmed its long-standing commitment to the Palestinian cause and the pursuit of peace in West Asia during the meeting of the NAM Ministerial Committee on Palestine in Kampala. Addressing the meeting, India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirtivartan Singh, said, India welcomes the agreement on the first phase of Trump's Gaza peace plan and commends the initiative and efforts of the US and President Trump. Reiterating India's consistent position on the developments since the 7th of October 2023 and the conflict that followed, Singh said that India condemned terrorism and has held that the destruction, despair, and suffering of civilians must end. Gaza must have access to food, fuel, and other necessities without hindrance, and ceasefire must be in place immediately. He also called for all parties to uphold their commitments to ensure that peace and calm prevail. Acknowledging the diplomatic role played by regional stakeholders, the Indian minister added that India also expressed its appreciation to the leadership of two NAM members, Egypt and Qatar, which played an instrumental role in realizing the agreement. He also underlined that India's position on Palestine has always been rooted in historical support for the Palestinian people's rights. And Kirtivartan Singh also called on Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and conveyed the personal greetings of Prime Minister Modi. The minister, in a social media post, said that India valued Ugandan President's insightful guidance on further deepening the traditional and multifaceted partnership between the two nations. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has arrived in India this morning. During his two-day visit, Badr Abdelati will be meeting Indian political leaders, discussing issues to strengthen bilateral ties. On the 17th of October, which is on Friday, the visiting Foreign Minister Abdelati will meet Prime Minister Modi in the national capital. The high-profile visit comes shortly after Union Minister of State for External Affairs Kirtiwardhan Singh met with Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt during the Gaza Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh earlier this week. India's Home Minister Amit Shah today said that under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, a strong India is moving forward to ensure the rule of law along with secure borders. Speaking after inaugurating the conference on extradition of fugitives, challenges and strategies in New Delhi, the minister said India has adopted a ruthless approach to nab and bring absconders to justice. He added that India stands firm against corruption, terrorism and focuses on bringing back fugitives in a time-bound manner.
हम भारत में करप्शन, क्राइम और टेररिज्म के खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस तो जरूर रखे, मगर भारत में भारत की सरहदों के पार बैठकर ये सभी गतिविधियों को जो चला रहे हैं उनके प्रति भी जीरो टॉलरेंस और वो सभी को भारत के कानून की नेट में लाने का प्रयास और इसके लिए एक सुनिश्चित तंत्र बनाने की जिम्मेदारी भी हमारी है.
Now, this conference is focusing on the issues of international police cooperation and devise strategies to locate and bring back fugitives to face criminal justice in India. Further, effective use of formal and informal channels available for seeking cooperation from foreign countries, leveraging technology to track down fugitive criminals, and developing strategic approaches to extradition will also be deliberated in this conference.
लाने की मुहिम में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच पर अच्छे परिणाम सामने आए हैं. हाल ही में कई वांछित अपराधियों को अमेरिका, यूरोप.
A civic reception for India's Railways Minister was organized by the Rajasthan Maithil Parishad in Pratapnagar, Jaipur on Thursday. The Union Minister was felicitated for the launch of Rajasthan's Amrit Bharat train running from Madar Ajmer to Darbhanga. The Rajasthan Maithil Parishad had been demanding a train to Darbhanga for the last 23 years. The Amrit Bharat train from Madar Ajmer to Darbhanga was launched on the 3rd of October. Thousands of people in the Maithil community had gathered to greet the Railways Minister. Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that since coming to power, the Modi government has accomplished unprecedented work for the people of Bihar and the Maithil community. The Rail Minister also discussed suggestions from the attendees regarding new Amrit Bharat trains.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी हम सबको प्रेरणा देते हैं कि हमारा जो भी काम हो उस काम में नागरिकों को, मध्यम वर्गीय परिवारों को और लो इनकम परिवारों का पहले हम ध्यान रखें और उनके जीवन में एक पॉजिटिव चेंज आ पाए ऐसी व्यवस्था हमेशा करें, ऐसा प्रयास हमेशा करें. तो आज एक नया प्रयास शुरू हुआ है. हमारे रेलवे के सिस्टम में कंबल का व्यवहार वर्षों से होता आ रहा है, लेकिन कंबल के हमेशा एक मन में संशय रहता था जो हमारे पैसेंजर्स हैं उनके मन में. उस संशय को दूर करने के लिए आज एक नई शुरुआत हुई है, कंबल के कवर की शुरुआत.
And still to come in this edition of DD India News Hour, we'll be speaking with our expert guest about the intensifying war of words between the US and China over rare earths. Donald Trump authorizes the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela as Maduro cries foul.
Faster, smarter, better. That's often the promise that comes with modern technology, but all of it comes at a risk.
To deal with this kind of mismatch, we have created a master plan based on population projections up to 2055.
The main reason for looking for dry areas is both an efficiency reason and an avoidance of corrosion.
We decided that this cannot go on forever. Something needs to be done. And we also were very certain that only technology option will be the best option, because human intervention has several limitations.
The big advantage is you don't have to go back to the start of the chain like mining iron ore.
Eisenerzes anfangen, sondern
you can reuse materials that have already been processed.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, China's new restrictions on rare earth exports has rattled the US again. President Donald Trump now says the US is already in a trade war with China, while the Treasury Secretary has called on the allies to work together and diversify. This, even as China and the US prepare for a possible leaders' meeting later this month.
US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that America is already in a trade war with China, justifying the tariffs as a key tool of national security.
Well, you're in one now. Look, we have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense. You know, they've used tariffs on us, but we've never had anybody sitting in that chair that felt the need to do it, and they've allowed us to be $37 trillion in debt, et cetera, et cetera. Tariffs are a very important tool for our defense, for our national security. If we don't have tariffs, we're not going to have national security.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent slammed Beijing's curbs on rare earth exports, calling it China versus the world, warning that U.S. will neither be commanded nor controlled.
This should be a clear sign to our allies that we must work together, and work together we will. And we are not going to let a group of bureaucrats in Beijing try to manage the global supply chains.
Bessent's comments came as world financial leaders gathered in Washington for the IMF and World Bank meetings. He urged partner countries to de-risk and diversify supply chains away from China. Trump is expected to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping later this month in South Korea during the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. But the meeting could be in doubt after Beijing's latest move to restrict rare earth exports. Bureau Report, DD India.
So, where is this headed? Are hard positions being taken just to ensure that when the leaders meet, they can make a big announcement in terms of some sort of a detente on the trade war front? Let's explore what are the possibilities. Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya is with us now, and he's a former Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador. What do you make of how, each passing day we see one statement louder than the other from the US, and China equally loud as well in terms of not just words but also actions? The latest was the port fees and all that are being charged now, taking up prices for everyone, whoever is exporting, importing, especially in packages also. Where do you think this is going in terms of this battle for rare earths?
I think it's been a very deep problem that began with the beginning of the year. We saw the rhetoric on tariffs. There was a temporary understanding which came about in May, which said that they would continue the discussions while they would have this short window where they would kind of keep the levels somewhat low. But now I think it's been ratcheted up again. So I see this as an escalatory practice in which there are retaliatory actions on both sides, actually, because on some of them, US has led the way by imposing very high punitive tariffs. And China has responded by having retaliatory tariffs. The recent Chinese action on rare earths in trying to have a new regulation which will restrict its supply, particularly in certain sectors, particularly in the military sector, is something that is of great concern to many countries in the West, US, of course, primarily, but others have also voiced their concern about this. Germany, the UK have also voiced concern. The fear is that since this is an escalatory process, we find that the port fees have also been increased, have been targeted. So logistics sector is now targeted as the next point. And if this is the classic way in which a trade war goes, the next one would be on currency, because the Chinese have also been accused of having manipulated the currency exchange rate. So if that's the way ahead, these are going to be very uncertain times ahead.
Yes, you mentioned that the Chinese restrictions are not confined to the US, it's not country specific. Even India is to a certain extent bearing the brunt of that, and that has triggered off a race for rare earths as well, apart from so many other races that we've seen in the world, from nuclear weapons to space as well. So where do you think this particular race is headed? Because now Scott Bessent seems to be talking about getting together with other nations with allied interests to come up with some sort of an alternative supply chain. Is it going in that direction?
Well, the kind of economy that we are all creating for ourselves in this 21st century, which is largely dominated by data analytics and the digital frameworks, requires semiconductors as a very key element.
And batteries.
Into green energy requires EVs, which are requiring certain kinds of critical materials. And so there is this range of critical materials, including the rare earths, which are absolutely essential as you go ahead with the kind of economic plan, the economic infrastructure that you have, and what's going to guide you into the future. So it so happens that about 70% of the supply, and of course, I think there are different views on this as to what the numbers are, but roughly about 70% of the supply is controlled by China, and almost as much as 90% of the reprocessing or the processing of these rare earths is done by China. So in other words, they have a very strong monopolistic presence in this particular area. There have been attempts, as you know, in many of the other fora, within the developed countries, and also some of the fora in which we are engaged with the developed world, whether it is in Quad or it is in our relationship with the Americans directly or with the European Union or with the UK. We do have mechanisms in which we try and bring about greater supply chain resilience, particularly of the critical materials. We're also looking at diversifying the source base, and a number of companies are now being established to step up this work. And I think one of the things that Treasury Secretary was talking about was in this particular context, that we need to have more of an economic presence in that particular area. But if you're looking at it tomorrow, we don't have that. This is something that is obviously going to take time, but that is a direction in which the West is going, so that the level of dependence that they have on China and Chinese supplies and its processing facilities will be reduced over a period of time. And of course, what we see is President Trump is saying that he's also going to use the weapon of the tariffs to try and make sure that that doesn't become something like a blackmail that the Chinese can use against them.
Yes, even 500% tariffs have been threatened, and now, of course, today we've heard confirmation from the American end that Donald Trump will be going to Seoul on the 29th and the 30th for this gathering of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, where President Xi is also expected, and there's a lot of anticipation building up as to whether there will be a meeting on the sidelines between the two leaders and a way forward which is more amicable than divisive is found. But let's see what happens. We'll know pretty soon. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ambassador. Now, Israel military is preparing a comprehensive plan to defeat the Hamas should Gaza ceasefire collapse. This comes as the Hamas has returned the remains of 2 more hostages, saying it has handed over all hostage bodies it can access. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has said that Israeli forces could resume fighting in Gaza if the Hamas does not uphold the agreement. Let's get to the details in our next report.
Israel's defense minister Israel Katz has instructed the military to prepare a comprehensive plan to defeat Hamas in Gaza if the conflict is renewed. The instructions came as Hamas issued a statement saying it has handed over the bodies of two more Israeli hostages under the terms of the US brokered ceasefire deal. The group, however, added that it needs time and specialized equipment to recover the rest of the deceased from the ruins of Gaza. If the two bodies returned on Wednesday night are confirmed to be hostages, that would mean 19 are still unaccounted for in Gaza. Hamas is required to return all the 28 dead hostages. Seeking to keep the pressure on Hamas, US President Donald Trump, on his part, indicated allowing Israeli forces to resume fighting in Gaza if Hamas fails to uphold its end of the ceasefire deal. He added that the US wants Hamas to give up their weapons under the deal.
We won't need the U.S. military. We won't need it. Because we're very much involved in it. If we weren't involved, there wouldn't be peace. If we didn't destroy the nuclear capability of Iran, that deal would have never happened for two reasons. The Arab nations would not have felt bold enough to do it because you have a very powerful, at that time, Iran. It's not powerful anymore between what Israel and us did.
Meanwhile, Israel has warned it could keep Rafah shut and reduce aid supplies because it said Hamas was returning bodies too slowly. However, preparations were underway to open Rafah, which was closed on Wednesday, allowing around 600 aid trucks to go in.
It should happen now. We want it to happen immediately as part of this agreement. As I said, 2-3 days ago, we were getting in at that number. The last couple of days have been lower, and we want to get back to the correct number and deliver at scale.
The latest development shows the risks to a truce that has stopped 2 years of devastating conflict in Gaza and seen all the living hostages held by Hamas freed. Bureau Report, DD India.
And on another front, Donald Trump has authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela, a move that's escalating tensions between Washington and Caracas. The Trump administration says it's responding to threats of drug trafficking and illegal migration. Venezuela has called it a grave violation of international law and a bid for regime change. But what's driving this decision? Is this really about national security or regime change? And could it push the two countries closer to an open conflict? Here's a report by DD India's Harshita Oberoi.
US President Donald Trump confirmed on Wednesday that he has authorized the CIA to carry out covert operations in Venezuela, a major escalation in Washington's campaign against President Nicolas Maduro. Trump said the decision came after intelligence reports claimed Venezuela was releasing prisoners and mentally ill patients who later entered the US through what he called an open border. He also accused Caracas of fueling America's drug crisis.
I think Venezuela is feeling heat, but I think a lot of other countries are feeling heat too. We're not going to let this country, our country, be ruined because other people want to drop, as you say, their worst. They have given us their worst. They've loaded up our country with prisoners, with mentally ill people that are seriously ill, criminally ill, and we're not going to take it. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things. And I can tell you, we've taken care of the sea. There's nobody, and we're watching. We're watching. And if we see it, we'll save it.
Within hours, Venezuela's government unleashed a furious response, calling the US president's admission a grave violation of international law and the UN Charter. Officials in Caracas accused Washington of plotting regime change.
No to regime change. No to CIA orchestrate coups. This reminds us of the failed wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya. We say yes to peace, no to war.
Tensions had already been soaring. A US strike on a boat off the coast of Venezuela on Tuesday killed 6 people in operation Trump claims targeted narcotics traffickers. Maduro has responded by ordering massive military drills and mobilizing militias across the country, warning that Washington's actions amount to aggression under international law. At the United Nations, Venezuela, backed by Russia and China, accused the US of preparing for a military operation. Behind the rhetoric lies years of mounting confrontation, from sanctions and indictments to military buildup. Since August, the Trump administration has doubled the bounty on Maduro to $50 million, declared his alleged cartel de los Soles a terrorist organization, and sent a nuclear-powered submarine and 8 warships to the Caribbean. A war of words is quickly becoming a test of will, and with CIA operations now confirmed, the US-Venezuela crisis may be entering its most volatile chapter yet. Harshita Oberoi's report, DD India.
And still to come on the DD News Hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says Operation Sindoor is the finest example of self-reliance in India's defence sector in Pune. Prime Minister Modi is set to lay foundation stones and inaugurate multiple projects during a day-long visit to the state of Andhra Pradesh. Also, a look at India's journey of becoming a world food production and distribution powerhouse on World Food Day.
There's so many invaluable artifacts that the British have taken from our country. They robbed us of our self-respect. They robbed us of our honor. Loot was never innocent. It was painful.
The word loot, that was stolen from India too.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on a day-long visit to the South Indian state of Andhra Pradesh on Thursday. The PM began the visit by offering prayers at the Sri Brahmaramba Mallikarjuna Swami Varla Devasthanam at Srisailam. He prayed for the well-being and good health of his fellow Indians. He wished for everyone to be happy and prosperous. Later in the day, the Prime Minister will be laying the foundation stones, in fact inaugurating and dedicating to the nation multiple development projects in Kurnool. These projects span across key sectors including industry, power transmission, roads, railways, defence manufacturing and petroleum and natural gas. These projects will generate major infrastructure and industrial investments in the state and will enhance the connectivity by better roads and railways network. Energy and defence projects will produce advanced electro-optical systems for the Indian Defence Forces, promoting self-reliance and high-skill employment. The Indian Air Force has successfully tested a new military combat parachute system, that's an MCPS, in a combat freefall jump from an altitude of 32,000 feet. It offers advanced features for paratroopers. The system has compatibility with navigation with Indian constellation and is not susceptible to interference or denial of service by outside parties or nations. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, through his social media platform X, congratulated the Defence Research and Development Organisation, or DRDO, the armed forces and the industry on the successful demonstration. He described it as a significant milestone for India's indigenous defence capability. And the Defence Minister visited the lab at Symbiosis University in Pune. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and State Education Minister Chandrakant Patil were also present there. Later, speaking at the convocation ceremony, Rajnath Singh said, Operation Sindoor is the finest example of self-reliance in India's defence sector.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर अपने आप में हमारी सेल्फ रिलायंस आत्मनिर्भरता का एक जीता जागता उदाहरण है और मैं आपको कहना चाहता हूं कि ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान हमारे सेना के जवानों ने जो करिश्माई काम किया है उसमें ज्यादातर जो हथियार थे, जो वेपन थे, वो भारत की धरती पर बने थे और उसमें कुछ भारतवासियों के हाथों से बने थे.
The Indian Army has signed a contract with Thales UK for a lightweight modular missile system on Wednesday. The lightweight modular missile is a man-portable laser beam riding missile designed for deployment across all operational terrains, including high-altitude areas. It is an effective tool or weapon against aircraft, helicopters, UAVs and UCAVs with low infrared signatures at ranges beyond 6 kilometers. And this works in all weather conditions as well. Equipped with an advanced sighting system, the LMM offers a high single-shot kill probability. Procurement of the system enhances the Indian Army's ability to detect and destroy high-value aerial threats, including drones and UAVs post-Operation Sindoor. The Indian Navy organized a seminar on impact of cyber attacks on maritime sector and its effects on national security and international relations in New Delhi. The event is aimed at deepening understanding of cyber threats in the maritime domain and strengthening the national cyber security posture. Addressing the event, India's Union Minister Jitin Prasad said, "The future challenges to maritime border security are crucial." The Union Minister lauded Prime Minister Modi's ambitious goal of prosperity from the sea. Jitin Prasad said cyber attacks pose a serious global challenge. Therefore, deliberating upon this important topic is essential to ensure maritime border security, trade through maritime borders, and the national security.
The government, the defense forces, the stakeholders, the private sector, all have to collaborate so that we are ahead and our security is paramount. And that is the intention of the Prime Minister, who is spearheading this mission himself, and he's very particular. And I've seen him with my little experience that I've had with him over a year and a half. And that as far as technology goes, that as far as cyber security goes, there can be no compromise, there will be no compromise, and we have to work in a fashion that we are not left behind.
Millions of people are flocking to Kalmykia to visit the sacred relics of the Buddha. They are expressing their gratitude to the Indian government and the people for this initiative. DD India's correspondent has reported from Elista.
We are standing outside the Golden Temple of Elista, and as you can see behind me, there is lots of queues. People are waiting from hours and hours, and it's a cold weather. Even then they are standing here, and they just only want to have a glimpses of the holy relics have come from India, which has been displayed here from 11th October to 18th October, and people are so emotional, so feeling so gratitude about the government of India for this initiative. How long you have waited here?
I've been waiting here for like 4, maybe 5 hours. So we've been there's a big line from almost the night. People have been gathering to visit there's the word Russian moshi of Buddha Shakyamuni. So yeah. People are very excited, and I am too. Though we couldn't get past the gigantic line in the past 3 days, so I hope this is my lucky day. We are very far ahead in the line, so we probably would get in pretty soon.
Nowadays, when I see that we are becoming closer with Indian people, I'm glad. Yes, it's very interesting that we have the common belief. Yes, Buddhists. We are Buddhists, yes, and our Kalmyk people, young people go to India to study Buddhism.
For most of the people in India, Kalmykia is only known as the biggest Buddhist center in Europe. But we will introduce you the other aspects of Kalmykian cultural and natural beauty. Please be with us on this interesting journey of Kalmykia.
Every year, the 16th of October is celebrated as World Food Day, a global call to action to end hunger and ensure food security for all. This year is especially significant as it marks the 80th anniversary of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. The theme this year, Hand in Hand for Better Food and a Better Future, emphasizes cooperation to transform the world's agri-food systems for people, the planet and prosperity. India, once a food-deficient nation, today stands tall as a global powerhouse in food production and distribution, ensuring that millions do not go hungry. For more, take a look at this report.
At its headquarters in Rome,
the FAO is celebrating 80 years of service with the inauguration of a new food agriculture museum and network. Opening its doors this World Food Day, the museum is a symbol of innovation and collaboration, showcasing how nations have transformed their food systems to feed a growing world sustainably. India's journey from dependence to self-reliance in food production has been nothing short of transformative. From tackling famine and shortages in the 1960s, the nation today feeds over 81 crore people through a robust network of welfare schemes and digital food distribution systems. The National Food Security Act guarantees subsidized grains to nearly 2/3 of India's population, ensuring that no one goes to bed hungry. Meanwhile, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, extended for 5 more years, continues to provide free food grains to the same 81 crore beneficiaries, a monumental step in ensuring social equity and stability. To tackle malnutrition, the PM Poshan scheme provides nutritious meals to millions of school children across the country. The Antodaya Anna Yojana focuses on the most vulnerable families, covering nearly 9 crore individuals, including more than 2 crore women. In addition, over 400 lakh metric tons of fortified rice have been distributed, a major stride towards improving micronutrient intake among the poor. Ensuring price stability and affordability, the government's Price Stabilization Fund has helped curb volatility in essential commodities. Affordable products such as Bharat Atta, Bharat Dal and Bharat Rice have been introduced to make nutritious food accessible to every household, reinforcing India's commitment to food for all. The Indian thali itself has gained global recognition. The WWF Living Planet report lauds it for its nutrition balance and sustainability, noting that if the world adopted India's largely plant-based diet, we would need less than 1 Earth's worth of resources to sustain global food production by 2050. As the world comes together to mark the World Food Day 2025, India's achievement stands as an inspiring example of what determination, innovation, and inclusive policy can achieve. By ensuring food security for millions and promoting sustainable food practices, India is not just feeding its people, it is also helping shape a healthier, hungry-free world. Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the country. The Central Industrial Security Force conducted a mock anti-terror drill at the Statue of Unity in Ekta Nagar on Thursday. The exercise tested the security forces' response to a simulated terrorist attack scenario. The drill effectively tested real-time communication, coordination and operational readiness of all agencies. The Noida Authority has begun water sprinkling operations on major roads as part of the Graded Response Action Plan or GRAP-1 measures. The Commission for Air Quality Management activated GRAP-1 restrictions on Tuesday after pollution levels reached the poor category. These steps aim to suppress dust and reduce particulate matter in the atmosphere. Chief Minister Rekha Gupta and Minister Kapil Mishra conducted an on-site inspection of Chhath Ghat in Delhi to review preparations ahead of the upcoming Chhath Puja celebrations. The leaders assessed safety measures, sanitation arrangements and crowd management plans to ensure a smooth and secure experience for devotees. And still to come in this edition of DD India News Hour. The Indian city of Ahmedabad is recommended as the host city for the 2030 Centenary Commonwealth Games. Australian 4-time Olympic gold medalist Ariane Titmus announces shock retirement at the age of 25. And we get you the special images of a cultural event organized showcasing Mongolia's rich artistic heritage in New Delhi.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, a rate cut on several agricultural equipment by the GST Council in its latest goods and services tax reforms is being widely seen as a farmer-friendly move which will boost the country's agrarian economy. A farmer from southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu has spoken with DD India, saying the decisions will reduce input costs for farmers and make essential products more affordable for consumers.
Thanks for having me. Well, let me start by telling you maybe what the situation was at Airbus, specifically, of course, Airbus Defence and Space. And it wasn't pretty. Until recently, Airbus Defence and Space had trouble securing and committing to their goal of building 10 fighter jets per year. And they knew dropping below that a line of 10 jets a year would have endangered the entire company, as it would have stressed supply chains mainly. The problem, many suppliers had warned that they couldn't survive at these low levels of demand for their products. Now the German government is ordering 20 new fighter jets. The whole deal is worth almost 4 billion euros. That is, of course, due to the fact that we're living in geopolitically troubled times, with Russia's war in Ukraine still going on, and with the United States losing interest somewhat in global military cooperation, which has left Europe with the urgent need to strengthen their own military here.
So Airbus is looking at a slightly altered landscape these days. Lars, what can you tell us about these military tensions that have been talked about?
That's a great question. One would have thought that the German government, and likely others too, could have ordered new fighter jets right away. And, well, they did actually. But in 2022, so pretty much right after Russia invaded Ukraine and the need rose for a stronger military for European countries, the German government bought over 30 jets, just not from Airbus. They bought them from the competition. They bought F-35 jets from Lockheed Martin in the US. Now, that was for two reasons. Those F-35 jets are equipped to carry US nuclear weapons in case this ultimate tool of war would ever be needed to be deployed. Also, while the Eurofighter made by Airbus is seen as stronger in air combat, the F-35 is specialized on flying into enemy airspace undetected, and that was something military leaders had been looking for. However, other governments did order from Airbus, namely Italy and Spain, and that did secure the company's business.
And now time to get you some sporting updates as well, as we thank Lars Holter from Deutsche Welle in Berlin. Well, the Commonwealth Sport Executive Board on Wednesday said that the Indian city of Ahmedabad has been recommended as the host city for the 2030 Commonwealth Games. The board said it will propose Ahmedabad in the western state of Gujarat to the full Commonwealth Sport membership for approval at the General Assembly in Glasgow on the 26th of next month. Ahmedabad had been chosen ahead of Abuja, Nigeria by the Commonwealth Sport Evaluation Commission. The 2030 Games are set to commemorate 100 years or a century since the inaugural event in Hamilton City of Canada. India last hosted the Commonwealth Games in 2010 in Delhi. India's Home Minister Amit Shah has expressed his delight after Ahmedabad was chosen as the host city. He has posted on X, and I quote, "A day of immense joy and pride for India. Heartiest congratulations to every citizen of India as Commonwealth Association's approval of India's bid to host the Commonwealth Games 2030 in Ahmedabad. It's a grand endorsement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's relentless efforts to place India on the world sports map. Raising world-class infrastructure and raising a nationwide pool of sports talent Prime Minister Modi has made India a marvel of a sports destination, unquote. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also expressed his enthusiasm for Dr. Jaishankar hosting the tournament is a proud moment for the entire nation and a testament to Prime Minister Modi's vision for sports and hosting the Olympics in 2036. He wrote on X, and I quote, "India will host the 2030 Commonwealth Games in Ahmedabad, a proud moment for Bharat and Gujarat. It is a testament to PM Narendra Modi's vision of world-class infrastructure and nurturing sporting talent." End quote. Now, Australian 4 times Olympic gold medalist Ariane Titmus has retired from competitive swimming at the age of 25, ending a stellar career that featured one of the sport's great rivalries with American Katie Ledecky. Titmus confirmed her decision on Thursday, bowing out as one of Australia's most decorated athletes with 8 Olympic medals and 4 world titles. The decision came as a shock to her nation and the swimming world in general, as she had long planned to return to the pool to chase more Olympic glory at Los Angeles in 2028. But of late, she'd had some health issues as well, particularly a tumor on her ovaries, and had to undergo operations. And after that, it seems life has taken a different track for her. Now, Indian shuttlers Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty survived a scare before progressing to the men's double second round at the Denmark Open. The Indian pair registered a thrilling win, in fact, over Scotland's Christopher Grimley and Matthew Grimley in Odense on Wednesday. The 6th-seeded Indian pair, which claimed its 2nd World Championships bronze earlier this year in Paris, will next face Chinese Taipei's Li and Yang. Now, Nepal and Oman secured their berths for next year's ICC Men's T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka. Nepal and Oman have guaranteed top 3 finishes even before their Super 6 meeting in Al Amirat in the Asia/East Asia Pacific qualifier. One more team from the tournament will join them in the next year's T20 World Cup. With the UAE defeating Samoa and set to face Japan on Thursday, Oman and Nepal's progression to the 2026 event was confirmed, irrespective of the result of their remaining Super 6 fixtures. 5 of the first 6 matches in the Super 6 stage went to the final over, with the Nepalese prevailing in the 2 nail-biters to book their ticket. And Mongolian president has attended a cultural event highlighting Mongolia's rich artistic heritage in New Delhi. Artists from the National Theatre of Fine Arts presented their performance Beautiful Mongolia at the Bharat Mandapam complex in New Delhi. The performance featured masterpieces of Mongolian national art alongside renowned Indian works, captivating an audience of over 3,000 people. India's Health Minister J.P. Nadda was also present. And that's all for the moment in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.